All right, and I want someone to keep a time on me a little bit just to make sure that I don't take too long. Um, can someone just be in charge of like after, let's say 15 minutes, just let me know when it's to 15 minutes in case I'm kind of dragging on. Um, okay, I see Lauren, Brian, ahead. So one of you guys just let me know. Okay, so, excuse me. So yeah, so we'll go over the shopping cart part. I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. And there you guys are. Oh, wait. I always do this. I always lose my Zoom people. There you guys are. It gets minimized or moved to another screen. I don't know why. One day I'll figure it out. Okay, so this is the learn lesson itself. I'm just going to go to clone this directly, okay? Because one of the problems, as you guys probably saw, you can't really do this on learn.co by itself because you have to modify this file right here. So I'm going to move this kind of way so I can see.
Oh, Victor, quick question on those PY files. Do people typically create them through the terminal?
I can show you how to create them, but you don't have to create it through this terminal, if that makes sense.
Okay, I guess I created it, like obviously for one of them, but I just wasn't sure like if there's a method that people typically do to create it.
Yeah, I can show you a few ways, if that makes sense. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure it's in there. Okay, so I just cloned it over, and then I'll go ahead and navigate to that part. Where are we? Put under random. DSC object. Okay, so this would be the whole thing. Lauren was asking, right, how can you make this .py if it wasn't already there? One way for at least Jupyter Notebook, you can just go literally, where are we? Oh, new. Just new text file. And it can be like, like robots.py. And that way you would actually have robots.py here. You could also, in the terminal, this is more like, I like using the terminal because it's kind of sometimes a little faster. You can do something called touch, and then let's say new.py. And then you can see here, new.py shows up. And touch basically just means it's kind of like, I imagine like a little tap. It's like, oh, you're to life now. And so that's essentially what that touch does. It makes a new file without putting anything in it. Okay, so that's how you would make a file real quickly, either way. There's other ways you can do in terminal too, but I won't go into the full extent of what you could do. All right, so let's see here. Let's open up the notebook itself just to kind of read it through. Haven't gone through it completely. So, okay. So quick intro. I'm not going to read it all the way through. Obviously, you guys can go through it. Note that there is this cell right here to auto reload, and that's because we have an external file. So essentially what happens is that if we don't have this auto reload, we would have to restart the kernel every time. It might still sometimes happen where it like doesn't load in properly, so you might have to restart the kernel. But what's happening is that when we do this from shopping cart, import shopping cart, which seems redundant, but basically it's saying that this file right here, okay, there's a bunch of skeleton code for us, but basically it's loading in that file. So from shopping cart is saying from shopping cart.py, import the class shopping cart, which is this guy right here. Okay, and that's what that terminology is. The problem is that if we don't do a reload or kernel restart, it doesn't know that the file has changed. It'll keep an old set of the code, so it doesn't have to reload every single time, essentially. So it's a little quirk. So just be careful if you get this weird part, like it's not found or something like that, either reload this part or, what's it called? Do a kernel restart, which is always useful. All right, so what's nice right now, because it's skeleton code, I didn't have to write a whole bunch of parts. We'll see that shopping cart gets created, so or maybe not. Maybe it doesn't get created. I guess maybe because there's nothing here. Okay, that's probably why. Whatever, that's fine. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, I guess I didn't run this part or something. So note that this shopping cart, if I go ahead and make a new cell for shopping cart, just to show you guys, it is in fact an object. It's there, right? But no, because we don't have anything listed in here, the init function, which we didn't talk about last time, which is going to basically do like the default actions and stuff like that of initializing or instantiating our object. That's what this is going on right here. It's the first function it runs every time we write shopping cart, with the little parentheses. That's what this is running right here. Okay. Then we have a couple other functions. I'm going to add some spaces in here so it's easier for us to read. We have add items, mean items, median items, apply discount, and void last item, which I know is in the notebook itself, right? So we'll go through that. Okay. Everyone follow me so far? What we see and everything? Cool. Not that I did anything yet. Okay, so it looks like what we're supposed to do is we're going to have something like a total employee discount and items. So these are different attributes that are going to be put in, let's see here, it looks like to include in the init method. So when we first write it out, it should actually have these properties. So I'm going to go in this init part, and I'm just going to look at what we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have total, discount, and items. So what I can, oops, I'll say total, discount, and I'm just writing it out here. Oh, why? Who did this file? Is that not 4? Sorry, I hit 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, no. I was scared. I was like, why isn't it? There it goes. Oh, it's because that pass there. Always indent in the same number of things you need. Okay, so we'll have total. We will have, what was the employee discount? Is that right?
Yeah, employee underscore discount.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the underscores. And last one is items, right? And because it's going to be tied to the specific object, right, we need to make sure we put it as self. So it'd be self.total. So if I just go and do this, and again, editing multiple lines, I hold command or control depending what computer you have. Self.items, right? So that means these will be created, but we want to have some defaults. And it showed that the total should probably be default. Makes a lot of sense. Should just be 0, right? The discount, it showed the discount should be none as the default, and then item should be an empty list, okay? Which that kind of makes sense. By default, we don't have an employee discount. In this case, we can actually use this one because that's what we're going to pass in the parameter. So I can actually just pass an employee discount. So that means I don't have to do anything special. So note that this is a named parameter. So that means if I don't pass in an employee discount, it'll by default give me none. Okay. And then items should just be an empty list. Okay.
So Victor, like, why wouldn't you put those in the parentheses after the init?
Oh, this part right here?
Yeah, like why? I mean, yeah, so why put them below instead of up there?
Below. Oh, you mean like instead of putting like total and items? Yeah, you could do that way. And that's a perfectly legitimate way. One thing I will warn you with is that you will get some weirdness if you do items equals like this. And the reason why is because this is only going to be run once, which you're going to get some weird funkiness. So it tends to be safer to actually declare your first parameters down here. These are much more, you can think of like passing them in. And sometimes you'll usually see things like, you might put down like total equals 0 and then pass in like total. Like you could do that. That's a very common thing for you to see. But since the total should start off at 0 and the employee discount is really the only thing that we should really adjust when we first create our shopping cart, it makes sense for us just to put in there. And it's just style more than anything.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Cool. All right, cool. So we have our initialized part. So I'm just going to go through this part. I guess I could run this. It should hopefully reload. Yeah, good. So you can see everything worked out fine, right? And just to prove it, if I change this to 1, we'll see that it actually modifies. And you can see initialize. So that means I did it correctly. Yay. Okay. So that's the simple part. And hopefully I'm not going through this too quickly, but I'm just kind of walking through it so you can take your time as you go through it. So next part is add an item. So we want a function that basically will add an item. And I remember reading about it going through, it's going to add up the total as well. So as we add an item to our cart, it should increase the total, which makes sense, right? That way we don't have to like recalculate the total every time. And this item should basically be just whatever string is and then whatever number in here. And note that I'm not checking for incorrect parameters. You can do this and you probably should in like production code, but we're just kind of making some quick stuff just to make it work out. All right. So this add item, which is right here, and get rid of this spacing. There we go. Add item. We're going to just basically add it to the list. So we have a name, a price. Oh, and also mentions about the quantity being like a default, but we could an optional 3 right here, right? So it kind of makes sense. Quantity should be default to 1, right? Since we're likely adding 1 item. So what we'll do here, let's first just add it to our list of items, right? So we'll do self.items, right? And then we'll do .append name, right? Seems simple enough, right? One thing I kind of caught on here, what might be an issue with this if there's quantity is not 1? Yeah, I think, I could be wrong, but I think the way this would work is that we want to have, like, let's say you add 3 jeans, right? 3 pairs of jeans. You probably want in your shopping cart to not just jeans, but jeans, 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 right? That way there's 3 items in there. So the problem is with this one, if I put quantity 3, it'll look like I only added 1 pair of jeans, but in reality there should be 3, right? So anyone got an idea of how we could like circumvent this? There's a few ways we could do it. I'll tell you one that's kind of a fast, cool one. So one way we can do append, we can do dot items, because remember, dot items is just a list. We can just do plus equal, right? So we're going to say take that part plus equal, and then normally we'd say plus equal another item, another list item. So we would do like name, right? So we'd be like, oh, if there's 1 jeans, it would add on to that jeans or that list with jeans in it, right? But what's really cool is like, well, if there's going to be 3 of them, we can just do times quantity. Oops. Of course, you don't know how to do that, right? Quantity, all right? So what is nice is that this will work because if I do Python and I use, like, let's say jeans in a list right here, and I do times 3, that'll actually make a list of jeans, jeans, jeans. So it's kind of nice to be able to do this. And if it's just times 1, well, it'll just be just jeans by itself, okay? So this is one way we could do it. Another way we could do it is do something like a for loop, like for Q, like for item in range of quantity, you know, and then underneath that, I'll do append, you know, 3 times or however many times it does. But I like this way because it's nice and small and neat, okay? And it's relatively easy to understand, okay? But different styles, okay? So cool, we added it to our list or our items. Next part we need is actually add up the total, right? So we're gonna have to change total. How could we update the total in this case? Assuming that we pass in price.
Plus equals price times quantity.
Yeah, right? We have the price of the item and then times quantity. Quantity, okay? So we have this part in there. So that should hopefully update the price for what we have, right? Pretty straightforward. Is there anything else we need to update then? I think that's it, right? We updated the total. We added this, everything in there. Looking good, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you guys catch something that I missed, just let me know. All right, cool. So that should hopefully work. So I'll go ahead and save this guy, and we'll go ahead and run the code. So let's see what happens. Oh, well, just add the item, right? We can't see what it is. But let's go ahead and add the items in here. Actually, I'll make a new cell to double check what the price is. So we should do shopping cart dot total, right? And hey, 46. Oh, okay. It's because I did this guy right here. So let's go ahead and run that again. And now 45 should show up. There we go. Okay. So you can see here. Okay, cool. That works out. And now if we add the next one in there, we'll add $10.50, and we should see the total now to be $56.49, which we do. We can also check out while we're here. Let's do dot items. So we should see rainbow sandals, agile socks, really fashionable today, right? So you can see here it's added in. And we can do the same thing for this 3 items. Oops. So we'll go ahead and print out this one first. I have to actually run it first. So we run this through, and it should be 206, right? And then we should see rainbow sandals, agile socks, jeans, jeans, jeans. Perfect, right? So looks all good. So we should be all done with our add items function. Okay, should I keep going then?
You've got about a minute and a half of your 15
okay.
minutes, just so you know.
Cool. I might add a couple minutes then if you guys want. So for people who have tried this out then, is there any part, you saw a couple parts in there. Is there something in particular that you'd like me to kind of go over? There's mean item price, median item price, and apply discount method, as well as void last item. Is there one of these that you guys would like to see? Let's.
I mean, I feel like the median is kind of similar to what we just did, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. You find the list of all the median price, right? So.
Yeah, so maybe something like a little bit different.
Okay, that's fine. One thing to note is that I did not save the prices, which I don't know if it directly said in here. So I might actually have to add in here as well to the initial part, self.item prices, if this is making sense. So that way, when I actually add in in this case, there's different ways you could structure this, but in the way it's asking, I might want to keep every time I add a new item, right? So I might do self.item, editors, prices, and then plus equals basically the same thing that I had up there, price. Does that make sense to everyone what I'm doing here? So just so I can keep the price. So that would be something you would keep in mind when you do a median. So let's try out something like void last item, right? So void last item, which is the last part here, we should be able to define. We want to take our void last item, and update our total. So I think the idea here is that we are removing the item from the last item from the list and update its total, right? So that's why I needed to keep the item price in here. Otherwise, the way I had it implemented, I wouldn't know how much to take off on the price, right? So there's probably better ways to do this, but there's a quick way for me to write it down. So void last item, what I might do here is I'll do self.items. There you go. Right. Self.items, and I want to remove the last one, right? So one thing I could do something like .pop. Might be one thing you can do. So are you guys familiar with .pop yet? Cool. So this is useful because basically that will just pop it right off. You could also say self.items is equal to self.items this to the second to last one, right? Or I guess the last one. So I might want to double check that. So we can check this out, right? So we can say, is it -2 or -1? Okay, does that make sense? So that should just keep the list of what's going through. And this is where we can actually test things out, right? So this is what's fun. So let's say we do like a equals 5 for 4. So we can see here is this will give us a, right? And just to double check, if I do a2 -1, we should hopefully get 0, 1, 2. And that's what we get, right? So this is how you can quickly check things out. If I did -2, you would get 2 menus off. So this is where you can do it quickly, checking things out. Okay, so it should be -1. Okay, and then so this should be removed from the list. And then the next part is we have to update the total, right? So update total. Okay, subtracting and price. This is a fun one. So that's why I kind of put this right here, is what we can do. We can say self.item prices, right? And I'm going to do that pop. Oh, thank you. Okay. Like this guy. Okay. And what's nice is that this will take it off the list, but we want to actually update our total with that price, right? So what's nice is we can actually keep that price of it. So we can say like last price is equal, because this should return this .pop, will actually pop it off of the list, but also give us something to use. So we should be able to use this on here, and then we can do self.total minus equals, right? Because we're just subtracting off the total last price. And we're going to assume when we put in multiple items that we're just going to remove the very last item. So if we put in 3 genes, we're just going to remove 1 gene from it. Make sense? Okay, cool. So this should be it. And then it did mention something, if there's nothing in my cart, there are no items in your cart, right? So we want to make sure we put this in here. So one thing you might want to do here is before we do all this part, we say, check if no, oops, sorry, open up a new little window. What is going on? Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see what happens. There we go. Sorry, I opened up a new window that did some weird stuff. So we can say check if no items. So I'll do an if, what is it called? Self.items. We'll just do the length of it, right? So if the length of it is 0, right, then we should just go ahead and print this guy, not do it. Oops. There we go. We should print this guy, and then otherwise we can go ahead and keep going. One thing you could do is do an else right here. So that means if it's not equal to 0, we can just do this part. Another thing you can do, which I'm just going to show you, I don't particularly like it because it's not super clear, but you can do a return. and have it indented like this. Oops. And what this will do, it says if this is here, it'll print this out and then it'll return and it'll stop the function right then and there. And then it will never execute this part. So this is one thing you might see commonly where if you do a return, it'll stop that function right then and you don't execute anything further, okay? I personally don't like doing this, so I'm gonna remove this. I think it's a little less clear versus like else, like that's really what you're trying to do. That should hopefully work. I don't know if I have to we'll see what happens. Yeah, I have to reinitialize it. So let's go ahead and reinitialize real quick. Okay, initialize, and we'll just add some items. Okay, so we got all the way to the genes, right? And then we'll go ahead and remove it, which should remove my genes, right? And update the total. You can see here, 15.69, right? Oh, because I guess I did a pop, right? So I really should have something like this, like, I don't know, last item. It's printing out this part, I think. Whatever, that's okay. We will keep that away. But, oh, because it's returning this guy. What am I doing here? I don't know why it's printing out. Oh, well. But there we go. So you can see here, it should remove items. So just to double check, we can do .items. And we can see genes remove. I do this again. Update its total again. So that should be down to rainbow sandals. Yeah. And then I can do it one more time. And now it should be, that should be 0. As you can tell, it's not quite 0 because we're rounding and stuff. So if I run this again, it should show me no more items, no more items. Okay, so cool. And you got to see some really funkiness with Python's computer handling numbers, computer stuff at counting. So anyway, okay, cool. So sound pretty good. Any questions on any of that? Awesome. Cool. All right, so I'll go ahead and we'll go into our next part then, which is JSON and XML. So I'm gonna make it easier so I can split the recording in half. I'm gonna stop it here.